And yet again, I've done the mic on mute thing. Whoa! It's been a couple of weeks since I last did that, so this is all going brilliantly. So tonight on Quizzy Monday, we are being joined by Richard Pollard of tonight's victorious Warwick team, Michael Kohn, captain of Imperial, and Lyndsay Baumeister from the Whodunits from Only Connect. So we'll be catching up with them later. Just to start with, just a few bits of housekeeping as usual. So first and foremost, today it was announced that Clive Myrie is going to be the new host of Mastermind. Be interested to hear what people have to say about that. You can place comments in the comment section here, and we'll be able to bring them up on stream. So put a comment or a question in the chat, and we'll try and bring those into the conversation. So what do you think of Clive Myrie? We think it's pretty good. So yeah, we'll hear what you have to say later. Tonight wasn't bad actually on Twitter, but we're still maintaining our campaign of opposing the abuse of quizzers online. We think it's never acceptable if people put themselves up to be quizzers, to be faced with abuse online. This week, we've been running the question, if this is the answer, what is the question? The answer's been blue. We have until Tuesday at 6 p.m. for you to get your answers in. You can submit them on Twitter, or you can submit them on our Facebook writers group, and I think possibly also on our main Facebook group. So if you have a question to which the answer is blue and you think it's worth us hearing, then send it in to us. We'll put it to a vote over the course of the week, and we'll announce the winner on Thursday night on Quiz Week Live. And we also have our lunchtime quiz time. So just a reminder, on Twitter at lunchtime at 12 o'clock, we post a question, and at 2 o'clock, we give the answer. So we look to see who the first person is to give us the answer. This was today's question, lunchtime quiz time, and all month we are doing women. Don't forget, we're doing our Quiz Academy videos. And yes, I've been saying this for a little while, but we've been delayed because we've had other exciting things to do. We were previewing the OQL Lowbrow Mimir in the past week. That's done. Some great videos and great interviews there. But now we're turning our attention back to Quiz Academy. So look out for that this week. And finally, the winners of the votes for Quizzer of the Week and Quiz Team of the Week. Winner of Quizzer of the Week was Joseph Kroll. Second was Jonathan Gibson, who had a fantastic week last week in Mastermind, and also winning the speed quiz. And we had third was Anne Hegarty from The Chase. She had a full house in the Quiz League of London. Quiz Team of the Week was Ollie and Grace's Lonely Hearts Club Band, an Irish team competing in Quiz Nations. Second was Plush Toy of the Apocalypse, an American team competing in OQL USA. And third was Bad Generations competing in OQL UK. So I think that's everything in terms of the housekeeping. So I will bring onto stream our three guests. Making his debut on Quizzy Monday is Richard Pollard, looking a happy man. Welcome, Richard.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Bringing on, now we have two people for whom it's their last time we'll be bringing them on after a match. It's so sad. We got Lyndsay and Michael. I mean, Lyndsay, you went out on a high, so kind of different emotions to last week. Thankfully, that was great to see. Michael.
Nobody needs sad Lyndsay again.
Michael, on the other hand, sadly, it wasn't to be tonight. So commiserations, Michael, but a fine tournament that you guys have put in.
I made the dog jump as I shouted "flack" really, really in the television. I'm just so happy to know one and be old enough to know it. She just looked at me and went, "What are you shouting for?"
It's always good to shout at the telly. Before we get in, so tonight Lyndsay is only able to be with us until about past because Lyndsay is playing in the Connections Online Quiz League, which is like a kind of Only Connect kind of informal quiz. So Lyndsay will be off. So we'll talk about Only Connect early up. Big news of today. What do you make of the Clive Myrie announcement? Anybody?
I think, first of all, it's good they've chosen someone. I feel like I've been waiting quite a while. I mean, I don't know a lot about him, but from what I've read, it just seems like a good choice. And I'm hoping it seems like the kind of guy who'll be able to bring his own spin on it and maybe add his own personality to it and stop some of the nonsense that stops some of us applying because we just really don't want to have to do it as it is at the minute. So I look forward to seeing the first few shows of his first series.
Michael and Richard, I mean, how significant or important is Mastermind to you guys? Is it an irrelevance, or do you keep tabs on it?
I watch an episode every now and again. I'll admit it's not sort of my first and foremost thing, but if it's on, I will occasionally watch it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Michael,
I've said it before on this show that I go out of my way not to watch it, but that's mainly due to John Humphreys. So I will see what happens next season. And on your post on the quiz discussion group, Lyndsay said, "I'll sign up," and I commented, "Me too." If they change the style of the questions, then he's the right presenter for it, definitely, and I'll give it a go.
Excellent.
And start watching, of course.
Well, I mean, the feedback generally online's been good. Grace is saying he looks like a good choice, to be honest. Really hope he does well. And Michael McPartland saying solid choice. Hopefully ends up more Magnuson than Humphreys, and that he likes short questions. So I think there's a lot to look forward to with Clive Myrie. I don't want to dwell on tonight's mastermind, but it's worth acknowledging that the winner, Laura, was a nice, clear winner tonight. Good performance from her on a night when a lot of people struggled in the black chair. So good to see Laura go through. We're now coming to the end of the qualifiers. I think next week is the last heat, and then we go into semis and finals. So that's really gearing up to the end of the contest. But we have Lyndsay here. So, Lyndsay, you got to sing tonight, but it wasn't a solo.
It wasn't a solo. I mean, let's face it, you can't beat the Heady Heights of Till There Was You. But it was the fact we got both music questions. I think on the second one, Captain Alan raised his hands in frustration, but actually it turned out okay.
Yeah, because last week it was quite emotional, wasn't it? The singing you did, and quite poignant. Tonight was it's Delilah. So
well,
that's just.
I think Selena and the Après Skiers have been tweeting that I think it did really come across just how much fun we had filming that show. We both had nothing to lose. We both just went in with the aim of having a good time, and we did. And there were points when they were answering a question, and we were kind of looking at each other going, "I've no clue," and vice versa. And you could see the faces. We were all just going, "Oh my god." However, I don't know if Jessica will be watching this, but I'm a little bit in love with David after watching back the Magic Square answer. It was impressive at the time, but then you watch it back and you go, "My word." But they were great, and I've been tweeting them all week with gifs of like fights and West Side Story and stuff, ready for the first playoff. I'm muting myself. They were a great bunch we had, but how close they came! If they'd 10-pointed their wall, and they were this close, they knew the groups, I think it would have been a different outcome.
Yeah, it was a really tight match. It was level going into missing vowels. You aced the first set of missing vowels, and then probably the most devilishly hard, mind-screwing set of missing vowels ever with the Yoda quoting Shakespeare
They
thing.
were amazing.
But you sort of too busy laughing just to really work it out when the other one starts saying it. And again, David started it, and then you always feel guilty when you get the bonus passed over on missing vowels like that. But that is the game. But they were. I think if they'd been our semi-final missing vowels, I would have hated them as much as I hated the ones we got. But it felt like it was funny, and I think even if we'd lost, we'd have still been. It was a really good thing. But yeah, I didn't realise because obviously we don't get to see their wall on the day. We didn't know. I mean, literally one button press. If they'd had one more, if they'd just pressed a different button, I think I can't remember if it got on the wall. It'd have been a 3 or 4 point difference going in to missing vowels, and we may or may not have pulled it back. It could even have been a tie break. So,
Fred's posted, pain in arse missing vowels round was. You've got to love an in-character comment.
Well, and even Captain Alan, when he answered the first one, I think he did a bit of the voice. You just can't help it. It's how it is. But yeah, I've just put on. So it's been absolutely the best experience of my whole life. And I was talking to my husband about it. We got to film all 6 episodes. So even the winners, well, actually, the Dungeon Masters, if they do win, they've only done 5 because they won. They've not lost a game. But to get to film all 6, you still feel like you've kind of won because you've milked every single bit that you can out of it.
I agree with you there. I mean, by the end of the season, I'll have played more games than Richard. I think we've got 7. The final is your 6th.
Sometimes it's about getting to play the game. And yes, don't get me wrong, I would have loved to win. I hate losing, as anyone who joined in after the last show would have noticed. I don't like losing, but that's fine. Sometimes you don't win everything, and as long as you get to play and playing all 6, I am going to have a self-indulgent watchers party where I watch all 6 episodes back to back, because I don't think I was really paying attention on them because I was on Twitter and stuff. But there was only one negative comment I saw on Twitter tonight, which was about Alan Hay, and I corrected him and said, no, he's lovely. He called him Uncle Fester or something, and I corrected him in true all things place, sticking up for them style. But we've been really lucky. We've been really lucky. We've had so much love. Although people seem to forget I'm on the team. People love the 2 Allens, and I'm like, hi. I actually replied to a GIF, like, hi. We've had a lot of love, and it's been really nice.
I did think one of tonight's highlight moments was that point where there was a question and Alan buzzed in right at the death and just turned to Alan and goes, got any ideas? Well,
but in all fairness, it usually does have. Even if it's just repeating something I've said 2 minutes ago. Can I just point out, I called out Franz Ferdinand fairly early on and stuck my ground for the last group. Another one where I went, well, it probably is. But I absolutely love those 2 boys so much. And like I said the other week, we're really hoping for something like Very Hard Questions where we can come back as a team of 3 and have another go at something. Because they are 2 of the best humans that I know. Particularly Alan Flanagan I just love him. I just absolutely love him.
They were brilliant. Guys, I don't know if you were able to watch Only Connect before University Challenge. Anything stand out to you on tonight? So, particularly good questions, great buzzes or anything?
There was that question with the film titles that I was nowhere near. The one that Victoria said was the hardest question of the series.
Yes.
I can't actually remember the answer. I just remember being CBeebies
bedtime story.
Yeah. I really liked the Auden question. I think I got that one quite early.
That was very good.
You know how mad I was, because it was almost as soon as she said the answer, I kind of it was similar. I had the similar one with a call last week, and there was a point, I think I tweeted it. There was another one where I'm sat on the couch and I put my head in my hands in sync with me putting my head on my hands on the telly, because it's exactly the same moment. I went, oh God, yeah. And you just feel it's because it goes backwards. Sometimes your brain just can't get there. Yeah, I was so mad, but it was a good one. It was a good one.
Richard, to put you on the spot, obviously you haven't been on before, so you don't know quite how I fire these things at you, but was there anything that jumped out at you or anything you were proud of getting yourself?
Well, I didn't really get close to much, but I enjoyed the Prime Minister's one. So the sequence in sequence, so to speak. But yeah, I'm pretty hopeless at Only Connect stuff. It doesn't quite. I'm not quite so good at the links and connections thing, but it was.
Who remembers Cameron?
Really? It was
one of the most boring winners of Big Brother ever. Who remembers Cameron?
Cameron Stout, indeed.
Yeah. But it was certainly an interesting sequence. It definitely jumped out.
Yeah, really good. I liked the sequence that wasn't. Was Alan's one with the bologna waffle humbug rhubarb, where he started explaining about how it's all theatrical terms. And I was thinking, I know what's just happened here, because at some point somebody is scurrying around upstairs thinking, shit, we've got to check to make sure that these aren't all theatrical terms, just to be able to adjudicate that one. I thought that was tremendous. I love that about kind of Alan's captaincy as well. He's not afraid to just put himself out there and come up with something that sounds plausible.
I think your wall or the other wall where there were. I think it was the other wall where there was a set of things that looked like they could have been stories set around islands, and then they just weren't. There were 4 of them that sort of fitted it, and then they just belonged to other categories.
Our wall rules. We had wall rules, which we didn't do on either of the last 2 matches because of the pressure. Which was read all the clues out loud, because if it's a homophone or whatever, it stands out. And then when you're not sure, look for anagrams and words at the beginning or the end. And we didn't, and we should have done, because we got so focused on it being one thing, we forgot the rules that we put in place, because that's the pressure. And I was mad about the Gogglebox one, because I can't remember if anyone could hear it, but I said, I'm going Siddiqui, I know that's something, because they're my favourite family on Gogglebox. I think they're really funny. And yet the Verbers, it just didn't happen. I wonder if we'll be on Gogglebox this week, not knowing the Gogglebox people.
Well, I mean, I did wonder whether that was a way of guaranteeing to get Only Connect on Gogglebox. It's been on before.
They couldn't put me on singing last week, so I could get Simon Cowell ringing me up.
No.
Delilah, I mean, come on, really.
Grace says, do want to say an amazing congratulations to Lyndsay and your team for winning the best round of the series. Before I forget, you guys are absolutely brilliant. Was rooting for you the whole time. Goes on to say, hope to see you in a future special.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't mind my team coming up against you.
My flatmates decided they'd only come for University Challenge, and they actually came back 5-10 minutes early. And I said, you're going to want to watch this match. They're good teams. And then they came in just as they showed the scores after the walls, and it was 11-all. My flatmates went, oh, okay, let's sit down now.
Yeah. No, it was a tremendous match. And I think everything that was good about Only Connect this series was in there, because the teams were just eminently likable. I'm not just saying that because of you being on, Lyndsay, but it's like they're very good at casting teams like that. But it was just, you know, you could be happy for both teams, and that's not always the case when you're watching a quiz. Sometimes you side more for one than the other. And, you know, tonight I had two teams in two different shows where I know one of the competitors. But I think, you know, actually, when you've got two good teams going at it hammer and tongs in the right spirit, then actually it's quite easy to enjoy.
It's nice to see them come across. Like we like to think we came across as we are, but it's nice to see they were genuinely lovely. We just had us, them, and the Dungeon Masters. We spent a lot of time in the green room that day, and we just laughed and laughed and laughed. Charlie Deeks is one of my favourite people because he's just hilarious. I love him.
Indeed. What I didn't know, I was saving a couple of comments for later, but Seamus says, "Stop roasting us." So
I'm not. They're literally in the next room. They could probably hear me said, even if they weren't there.
Hello, Michael's flatmate.
I didn't think they'd be interested enough to tune in. Hello, I can come out and say hi.
Yeah, Tom W saying there's a case tonight. Really like both UC and OC teams that were on. I think that's a fair comment. I think just two really enjoyable matches tonight. So we'll get to University Challenge in a minute, because there's a lot to unpick from that. A lot of dramatic moments. But Lyndsay, you know, this is the end of this particular journey. But what would you say to anybody who's either applied for it and will be on the next series, or is thinking of applying for Only Connect?
So if you're thinking of applying, apply, because it will be the best thing you ever do. If it's just you, apply on your own, because that's how I eventually got on after 4 times of applying previously with teams. So do it, because the worst thing is you go on telling you make a bit of a div of yourself and then everybody forgets. That's literally the worst thing. And we all make divs of ourselves every day. If you're going to be on the next series, there's a lot of revision you can do. Don't get too hung up. Think about the sequences around and the puzzle element of it, and think about your technique on the wall. Because I genuinely think if we'd stuck to our technique that we practiced, like I said, reading out loud and everything, I think we would possibly even have won the last match, because we would have focused on some of the stuff. But ultimately, enjoy it. Enjoy every single minute, because everything's brilliant. The crew are brilliant. The questions are brilliant. I mean, genuinely. I mean, I think Steve went out to walk the dog. Best day of my life, including my wedding, I reckon. If we put them all up into one experience. Oh no, he has the dogs on the bed.
So
do it.
What's next for you, Lyndsay? Because you've been throwing yourself into the online quiz world and lowbrow mimir and online quiz league and all that sort of thing. You know, where are you going next?
I don't know. It was funny because it was actually 8 years since my episode of The Chase aired this week, just gone. And if I hadn't won, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched it, if I hadn't won, I don't think I'd have done any of this, because I wouldn't have had the confidence to apply for 15 to 1 and meet Steve Doddin and then start the other processes, and then it just wouldn't have happened. So I don't know. Maybe Mastermind, maybe Very Hard Questions if it comes back. Maybe I'll get called up for the one we were talking about with Bobby the other week. Who knows? But I'll keep my eye out. But certainly I'll be keeping on the quizzing scene. And if you're ever in the north, you're likely to see me, I think, because it's just so much fun.
Oh, well, I'll definitely try and get up to Quiz in the North. I think there's one scheduled for, is it August?
Yeah.
Hopefully, if we're all allowed to be out and about back up then, I'll see if I can try and make that one, because that looks like a good opportunity to connect with people, not least people that I've never actually met physically.
I have warned people about the hugging. There'll be excess hugging, uncomfortably long hugging. If I ever meet you, Michael, I'm very sorry, because I just feel like we are interconnected, so there will be an incredibly long and uncomfortable hug. Unless you're wearing a bag that says it'll be absolutely.
It's like internet dating quiz style.
Not adopting more like, I think could be a difference. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to come on here as well, Gareth. So thanks for having me all the times you have. Hopefully I'll come on again at some point when I'm not on telly. But I was very proud tonight to watch both teams. It was one of the best matches I've seen in ages, where I was literally on the edge of the seat, watching and shouting. And I'm very sorry that you didn't win. But congrats to Warwick. It was a great match.
Yeah. Well, it's been a delight having you on, and I don't think you're going to get away from us now, because you're always good value for your analysis and your sense of humour. It's been brilliant having you on. Before you
just make sure when you're next on, clearly I can't appear without you, and you can't appear without me.
Now.
It has been a freaky concurrence. Before you disappear off to your match, is there anything else that you just want to say about tonight's quizzing, or did you kind of wrap it up there in your last sentence?
I pretty much did. And just if they are watching this, I don't know if either of the Allens ever watched this, but I do love them, and it's been really. I can't wait to hope that we go back for a special so I can actually hug them as well, because I never got to do that. Well,
next week is the Only Connect final. Assuming that the BBC schedulers haven't mucked around, which they do from time to time, but it is meant to be the final. So you never know, Lyndsay. I might be tapping you on the shoulder for that one. We've got Dave Bill coming, and I'll see what I can see who I can rustle up, because I think
I'm keen on the Dungeon Masters because they were so much fun, just so much fun in the green room and obviously I want the team that beat us not to win, because that's always what you want, isn't it? You want them to be punished. No, I think
I'm the opposite. I said when they stopped rolling, I said to Warwick that I wanted them to win.
No, it's like when a boyfriend you want the next person he meets to be horrendous. But no, I think it'll be a good match though, and I'm really looking forward to watching it. So thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your chat. Thanks, Gareth.
Right, thanks, Lyndsay. So that was Lyndsay Baumeister from Only Connect. So now we are left with Richard and Michael. Wow. I mean, how do you... I'm trying to come up with words, because at times that was so... It looked like it was going to be neck and neck all the way to the wire. Michael, you were buzzing in like a mad thing, as usual. And at this point, I think... We get, love you, Michael. And
I love them too.
Well done, Kohn, you hero. So that's, I think, your flatmate's probably chipping in.
Fred is not my flatmate.
Oh,
I have no idea who Fred is.
Well, there you go. You've got your fan club. You buzzed in and got the first answer, Louise Gluck, and you were kind of looked like you were going for your buzz early technique to try and kind of get in ahead of them. And then you negged with Midsummer Night's Dream, where it's clear that you buzzed in and then thought, oh, crap, it's not the one I was thinking of.
It went in a different direction to where I thought it was going.
It did, yeah. Fatima has just said the Louise Gluck buzz iconic. But did you feel that Midsummer Night's Dream buzz affected you? We talked about this before. When you neg, does it pull you away from your game plan? Because presumably your game plan was to get in and hit them hard.
Yeah, in this game, not at all, because we'd already lost quite badly to Warwick before. And as I said, when I came on, it was just that, Richard was a fraction faster than Justin on one thing, Andrew and George were a fraction faster than me and Imran on other things. So we just thought, I was wearing the same shirt as I was in the first round, where we lost, as in the semis. I knew we weren't going to win this, actually. I knew from the start. In fact, I'm also probably one of the few people who is really not disappointed with today's result at all, and I wasn't at the time, because I knew that Warwick were just the much better team. But I thought, I'm here to try and get as many points as we can, not embarrass ourselves. and see what I can get. And last time they had sort of stopped us from buzzing, and this time I was just, by the end I think I had 7 stars, and I was just like, the questions were much, much harder than I thought they were going to be. They were a real step up from the quarterfinals, and I was just happy with how we'd done by the end.
Yeah, Richard, I mean, going into that match, having won previously, how did your team kind of try and guard against, we just have to turn up and do it again, or some sort of kind of complacency? Did you fire yourselves up, the same as you did every other match? Or was it kind of, because Mike was saying, thought they'd beat us. Did you have an inkling you'd win, or did you think, no, this could go either way?
Well, my thinking was that, I'm not sure how accurate this is, but in previous series, rematches tend to flip. The result tends to flip. So I was thinking we really can't take anything for granted. So, and I guess that sort of was borne out. It was, you say it looked neck and neck the whole way. It felt. I didn't. Michael says they thought we were going to win. At least from my point of view, I didn't feel like that. It felt tense, and I think that came across watching it back.
Yeah, it was because I'm just looking at my numbers, and Imperial got away to start. Then you pulled it back in a small lead, and 5 points becomes 10 points, and then it's pulled back to 70 all after that jazz music starter and bonus set. With a few minutes to go, it was only like 1 or 2 bonuses between the teams, and a bonus and a nice conversion of the starter and a nice conversion of the bonuses could make a real difference in how tight the game was. Did you, during the match, Richard, were you how aware are you of the scores while you're playing? Because we see them on the screen. Are you even aware of it?
Yeah, we do see them on the index screen, which they normally use for picture rounds and stuff. But yeah, you have to try at the same time be aware of it and try not to sort of let it get to you in a negative way. It's especially when it's as close as it is, as this one in particular.
I felt, on a night of some very good buzzes, for me, not being vaguely scientific, Rout's Hamiltonian buzz. I was just thinking, how did he get it that quickly? For me, it was like
it's his PhD field.
Is it? Okay. Well, that explains it, because I'm thinking I don't even know what they've been asked yet. It was like, okay, so he got it. He was clued into that one. Okay, so that's fine. So okay, it's still impressive, but nonetheless. One of my highlights, actually, no, what were your highlights, Richard? Looking back, watching it now, what were the things that stood out to you?
For myself or for the team, I think I was the Bulgarian football team's bonuses was one of the fun ones. Varna was a guess. I knew it was a town on the Black Sea in Bulgaria, so I went for it. It was kind of weird, it's a very UC thing to do that. Something that's potentially gettable, and then it being the geography, and then the thing that's a lot harder being the football. That no, I don't think any of us knew the football. So I think it was there was something like that in the quarterfinals, the Marvel things with the science clues. None of us knew the Marvel. So yeah, it's one of the ones where you only get on sort of one half of the clue.
But at least you got a route in, and that's where kind of broader knowledge and the ability to apply that to make an educated guess really pays dividends. There was some great teamwork on both sides, I thought, tonight. I thought what's the name? Marrow. I thought she was chipping in with some great answers for you, Michael, in what we could hear of the consultation. Two just fine teams, really, fundamentally. Michael, from your point of view, watching it back, were there moments where you think, actually, could have, should have, any regrets?
I realized I knew the Poppy question. I just wasn't actually listening to the question by that point. But by that point, it was Warwick's game, so it wouldn't have changed the outcome anyway. I think obviously Justin and Imran were really gutted after that game. Justin having had 2 incorrect interruptions, Imran having had 1 incorrect answer, and apparently he knew the 2 weeks thing. He just got scared and didn't buzz. And I said to them, actually, you know what? If those starters had gone the other way, some of the other starters later on probably would have gone Warwick's way as well. So I don't think there was any point in the match where I thought, oh, I wish we'd done that differently, because actually for me, this was probably my best game, so I'm happy.
Yeah, well, it was an outstanding performance. I did wonder when Wong buzzed in on the Scottish Kings and said James, and I think James III was the answer wanted, whether there might have been a prompt on that. Is that the sort of thing that happens in UC? It does in other forms of quizzing. But...
Not in the semi-finals.
Okay.
Just because, saying which one is already sort of giving him a nudge. And I think he just misheard what the question was asking for, which is understandable. Like, it's everyone has a right to have a bad game.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't even necessarily say it was a bad day. You know, when you get to the semi-finals, you've had many strong performances to get there. But it was, I mean, watching in my head, I was saying, well, they're all Jameses, and I wasn't thinking about the same one, James III. So, I mean, it's interesting when you're watching something like that and you just see those little fine margins that can tip things one way or another, and sometimes your luck's in. But all through, looking at both teams, there were some great buzzes. Richard, you got the Yuri Gagarin one. You must have felt relieved to kind of get in at that point.
Yeah, I mean, there was a very brief moment in that one. I thought, hang on, did he want the name of the town? In which case, it would have just been Gagarin. But yeah, I mean, as Michael says, sometimes you miss a few of the words in the question. They just sort of go by, and and the pressure really gets to you. Do feel the tension. Oh God, have I got this wrong?
Obviously, there was one time where someone did really mishear the question. That was me in the Jazz. I thought they were asking for 2 people. So within 1 second, I was Mark Davis. Who on earth could the band need to be? Why would people know that? Is there something really famous that I'm just missing? So I was very pleased that they allowed me to have that when in other rounds they haven't been so...
I mean, in fairness, my parents watching that back thought they wanted the band leader as well. So
I did, yeah.
Actually, that's the worst I've ever done in a Jazz round. Usually, you see Jazz rounds I'm pretty good at, and then we've got absolutely none of the bonuses.
Well, it was it was not obvious. You're kind of trying to go by the instrument, and if you don't know that recording, then you're kind of trying to place people in time context, and if you don't know any relations between them, it's not necessarily easy. I thought Roberta Flack, I was listening to it and thinking, well, she'd had a hit with it, but was that her version? It wasn't necessarily easy, but then it's semi-final. I mean, you're not.
But it was very early Herbie Hancock. I only know his later stuff that's much more out there, and this is fairly standard stuff.
One of the things we've talked about a number of times over the course of this series is diversity in kind of the broader sense in terms of the setting. Now, one of the things, Michael, you kind of teed up for us. You said you thought this was going to be one of the most diverse question sets of the series. What was it kind of, in your memory that made you think, that this was a diverse and inclusive set of questions?
Because I didn't answer a single starter question about the white man. Whereas in every other game, I think I had at least one, and each team has had at least one buzz. And Imperial had 0.
That's
and of course, there was a round that was specifically focused on diversity. It's not, we're going to ask about a woman in science. We're going to ask about a woman in art. It was specifically, this is the LGBTQ plus Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So the Baldwin, Marsha P. Johnson, etc. Yeah, that was a great set of questions. I get that. I mean, Richard, when you have been watching this series, what do you think about this, the breadth of the question matter? Does this just feel like meat and drink to you, or does it feel like they're trying to diversify?
It's hard to say. I mean, when I'm watching back, I feel like I've spent so much time focusing on trying to dredge up something. If I can, sort of slap the arm of the chair to when I think I know the answer, that kind of thing. I mean, months of practice sort of trained me into sort of instinctively pressing something. So yeah, it's sometimes sometimes you notice, sometimes you don't, I think. I mean, I think it feels like, rather ironically, in contrast to Michael, a lot of the ones, I mean, at least in some of the more recent rounds I got, were white men, Roald Amundsen, Jack London, and now Yuri Gagarin. But particularly in this game, I thought the question set was particularly diverse. The picture rounds, the second picture round, sorry, yes, notably so.
Yeah, really, really interesting. In my mind, I'm visualizing Michael in his seat pressing the buzzer when he's watching other people, and I'm thinking, how many chairs have you got through this series, Michael? But we will miss your enthusiastic buzzing. But probably one of the things I think we'll miss more is some of your captaincy. Okay, well, I wasn't going to bring this up, but now we've got. Can we talk about your "What's your surname" moment? And and well, Michael, at least you knew your own team surname. I think the interplay between you and your team, Michael, was lovely at times, and you'd hear them, listen to them, and sometimes just go your own way. But the highlight for me was, I'm getting strong Dr. Faustus vibes. It was just a tremendous phrase that should somehow become a meme.
Yeah, something that could only happen in quiz.
I haven't checked Twitter, but I'm hoping that there's some interesting comments there about that. But actually, I couldn't talk about it last time. Yes, Seamus is right. We are actually 2 chairs down, but that's my flatmate who's broken them sitting on them rather than by me hitting them. Let's not go there. But now completely lost one. But yes, last time I was here, I said I really enjoyed working out those Greek letter bonuses in Durham page. But actually, my favourite bonus set of the series was that set on the very first set, after the Louise Gluck buzz, because he said a Greek phrase, Justin translated it, Katie then translated it into Latin. I have no idea how. And so that got us 5 points. Imran then got the next 5, and then I got the final 5. And I think, what more can you want from a team?
Yeah,
and I think there have definitely been moments like that for Warwick as well.
Yeah, I mean, Richard, your team dynamics, how was that worked as a team? Your skipper, Rout, he's often welling the buzzer, but Braid, I noticed, has had a great tournament at times. You've had a good tournament. What is it about your team that you think makes you finalists? Because it can't just be a bunch of great individuals. It's got to be a great team, surely.
I mean, I guess we get on. That's the main thing. If you don't get on, then it can be a little bit rough on the bonus side of things. But yeah, we get on. Although one thing I should stress is the "What's your name" thing. That wasn't. I should say, I don't think that was playing for time. I think it happened almost in the first round as well. The first picture round, he nominated me, and there was a suspiciously long pause between nominate and Pollard. So sometimes it happens under pressure, but.
I checked with Andrew last night. Actually, a couple of us from this season did a pub quiz together. Richard then left at a certain time. The rest of us were still up talking at 2:30 a.m. And I did ask Andrew, I was like, I am going on Gareth's thing. Someone will probably mention it. And he said, no, he just genuinely forgot Owen's surname.
But, it happens, particularly if you commonly refer to each other by your first name, and then University Challenge is referring to you by surname. You wouldn't necessarily be thinking of the surname, and particularly when your brain has got 1,000,001 things buzzing around it. Fatima's made a comment. So Fatima, for those who don't know, is our part of Michael's squad for the coming tilt at University Challenge. And seeing Rout in Quiz Bowl I just knew Warwick would get 15 on American literature. I mean, are there particular specialisms that you just kind of almost mentally look at a member of your team at when you hear, okay, this is maths, or this is, you know, microbiology, or this is American literature? Are you thinking, well, if he doesn't pick it up, we're buggered?
It seems so. Like we have George for the poetry. There was a first round thing with the nouns in first lines of poetry. I think looking at George, I think the stuff I know tends to be quite specific in that. Even if it's in something that's strictly speaking supposed to be my area of expertise, I may or may not know. And actually, I'm talking the first round, looking at the first round quite a lot here, because I think that's probably my best performance of the series so far. But on a set of bonuses on the Astor family, watching it back, I didn't realize how it looked, but sort of midway through the first question, route just sort of looked expectantly in my direction. And as it happened, I guessed the answer, 1919. Based on the last clue, which fortunately turned out to be correct.
Yeah, I noticed, Michael, there are times when a question's been asked and nobody's buzzing in, and you look in a particular direction. Was that just kind of, I think to your right, there were two players just because there were more players that way, or was there, times there are people you're looking at?
No, I each person on my team had specialisms like most other teams. Actually, I only realised it, of course, tonight because I didn't actually see him do it. But Imran was looking at me and telling me to buzz on the jazz. He was like, "Well, why aren't you buzzing?" But especially on the geography. So that was my first geography start of the series tonight. I don't actually know much geography. I just punted at the largest. Are they even? I can't even remember what the name of the subnational districts of Canada are.
There's provinces and territories, I think.
Okay, but I punted the largest one on the East Coast, and it turned out to be right. It was an approximate guess. But I looked at him, saw that he didn't know. He was still visibly distressed from his two previous negs, and I thought, I'll just go for it. But previously, I thought, I'll look at him. Okay, he looks like he's about to buzz. I'm not going to buzz in ahead of him and lock him out and get it wrong.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the art of captaincy, isn't it? Knowing when to kind of take the lead and when to defer. I'm interested, Richard, because it's the first time we've had somebody who's kind of been on the outer edge of the set, as it were. Particularly now that there's the glass screens and everything. Do you feel a little bit more cut off from the captain out there, or do you kind of feel equally a part of everything?
I mean, you have to sort of lean in a bit more and speak up a bit. And I feel, sometimes that the result of that is that you don't get quite so well heard on television because you're leaning in one direction, away from the mic a little bit. But no, I feel still able to contribute reasonably well. Although I think I found that the worst thing about being on the outside edge, particularly in the first round, is that having to introduce myself first, and not make a mistake, particularly with the first time in the first round, being the first time we'd done it, was actually surprisingly daunting. And I was sort of, when it was being broadcast, I was sort of, I'm pretty sure I didn't make a fool of myself doing this. Fingers crossed. And yeah.
Yeah, well, having forgotten my occupation on Mastermind and my age on 15-1, I know it can be surprisingly difficult to introduce yourself. Do you get a choice about how you introduce yourself? Because back in the day, it was my name is such and such, reading so and so, and it was very kind of formulaic. But now people just kind of seem to do it how they feel. Are you free to pick your own way?
They didn't tell us to say it one way or another, but the biggest sort of behind the scenes decision we made as a team was whether we were going to say full names or just leave it as first names. And in the end, we didn't come to any kind of conclusive answer on this, but Rouch just basically said to me, right, you're going first, so you'll set the tone. So yeah, and something actually that I noticed people on YouTube comments talking about was how many people said hello as opposed to hi. They don't tell us what to say in that either, but it's kind of interesting what people pick up on, even in something like the introductions.
Yeah, there's such a tradition, I think, to some of the things with a show like this that people do notice changes. And there was a time when, if you didn't say you were reading a subject, the people would be going, "Well, that's what happens when you let polytechnics become universities." But
I
maybe
think that's the attitude
maybe a
that
few years
needs to
before you were
go.
paying attention. But I mean, Michael, did you guys have a conscious decision about how you portray yourself?
Well, we decided we weren't going to do surnames. Definitely not.
Yeah.
That wasn't me telling anyone. We just said we don't want to do it. It's too formal. We just introduced ourselves with what we were studying. I changed what I was studying from the first to the second game because I thought if there are statistics questions, I don't want people to go, "He's a mathematician, he should know it." So I changed it to pure maths. But actually, as Richard said, there is a lot of freedom, and I'm just thinking of Tom Star Marshall from Strathclyde, who changed his introduction each time he was on to a different way of saying, "I'm not from Glasgow, but I now live in Glasgow."
Yeah, I mean, I thought the first time he was on, just the sheer contrast of three people saying, "Hi, I'm X, I'm from Glasgow," and him saying, "Hi, I'm Tom, I'm not from Glasgow," was just amazingly comic in itself.
It's nice to have that bit of personality and that bit of sense of humor, isn't it? Just to kind of humanize the players, albeit you're there to win a game. You're not there to kind of be a personality, I'd say.
Speaking of Strathclyde, if he is watching, happy birthday to Cameron Welsh from that team.
Happy birthday. Yeah, Callum had a brilliant game, didn't he, last week? He was absolutely superb. I tipped him to the Scottish quiz team to be having a word. So yeah, Gerard, who's done quite a bit of TV, says just look naturally at the camera, whatever that means. It's like, a little red light will appear, and we want you to look at that and not gurn and not look uncomfortable or stupid. It's quite tricky. How long is a recording of UC? Is it pretty much played through as we see, or is there a lot of start-stop?
I thought it was pretty, unless someone says something and then they think it's right and the producers don't, or the other way around. If you really want to argue with the producers saying you're wrong, but then they'll stop. But occasionally they'll cut one or two questions. But tonight, I don't remember any questions that weren't in that much.
Yeah,
I think that was literally as it was filmed as is.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't any particularly long stretch of starters going dead or anything that they would have to excise. So yeah.
So looking ahead, then we got another semi-final next week, and then the final, presumably. Michael, will there be any pangs? I know you said you kind of felt you went out on a high, but any pangs of what might have been when you watch it, or are you just going to think, great, I can be a fan now and just watch it like a fan?
Well, I would rather have lost in the semi-finals than lost in the finals, and I didn't think we were going to win the finals. So I'm actually, as I said, I'm actually really happy where we ended up. I didn't even think we'd get to the semi-finals, given that we'd lost in our first round match. But there won't be any pangs. I have friends on both teams next week and on the Warwick team in the finals, so I'm just going to be supporting all of them and just trying to enjoy the questions.
Yeah, I mean, it's lovely that there seems to be a really good community amongst the quiz bowlers, which then translates into University Challenge. Do you get, Richard, kind of much in the way of messages and support as you go through the tournament for people saying, well played, well done, and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, particularly after the first round, my phone was sort of blowing up with text, with messages from people I knew closely, peripherally, and even one of my primary school teachers from year 2 seemed to have found me on Facebook out of the blue. I hadn't had contact with her for years and years, and I got this really lovely message. So it's amazing. I mean, again, I guess you sort of forget during the process of how many people actually watch it. find a way to contact you and congratulate you. And it's really nice that way, actually.
Yeah.
I've had
Michael,
similar interesting.
Yeah.
The people who I thought probably never going to speak to them again, and then they pop up in my messages. And in fact, there was one person who after the Warwick game was just like, "I've seen you on TV. You did great." And of course, I knew what was coming the week after that. So I just kind of ignored it. So it wasn't all positive for me. But actually, this way, you said it was sort of a community of quiz bowlers going on University Challenge. I made sure it actually was the other way, is that I created a group of the quarterfinalists, excluding Kings and Birkbeck, not because we didn't want them there, just no one really spoke to Kings or Birkbeck. Birkbeck, obviously, due to the average age, maybe less of a chance that we could find them on social media. Either way, we couldn't, regardless if they are there or not. And I thought we'll try and keep up. And now Richard and Andrew regularly play on Warwick A for Quiz Bowl. I play on Imperial A, and we'll just hang out in one of the breakout rooms after a tournament.
Yeah, although in the tournament on Saturday, we were sort of unceremoniously booted from the breakout room when the meeting was closed. So Michael set up a room. We carried
a tournament.
On.
I will add that Imperial beat Warwick in twice.
The second time by 5 points.
It was 5 points.
It went down to the very last bonus set. And we got 1 out of the 3, the famed Warwick 10, and had we got 2, we would have won by 5 points.
Yes, but also the group of us from the quarterfinals went and did this. It was Angus Walker's cryptic pub quiz. Finished about 9, and at 2:30 we were still talking about 6 or 7 of us. Which is why I'm really, really tired.
Yeah, I'd sort of logged off at about 9:30ish. Hoping to have an early night, and then I woke up and saw a few messages on my phone and saw a thing saying video call ended 2:30. I thought, Christ, so really late.
I'd say it's wonderful with that sort of kind of the camaraderie and the friends that you make. A show like this can be transformational. It can kind of make a real change to your life. Michael, looking back on it now, what do you think are your high points of your run on University Challenge? Things that you'll look back most fondly on?
So I actually posted this on. I had a tweet ready to send. I sent it and then joined your stream. So it's there. So let's see if I can remember what I put down. Probably the ABBA buzz against Exeter, just because I was not expecting to get any pop music right, and then my favourite band come up. The starters from tonight, probably. It was probably my best performance. As I've said before, the last few starters against Kings were great. And some of those teamwork bonuses against Durham and tonight were just really, really fun. And yeah, again, even though I've just mentioned it 1 minute ago, all of the people I've met. Those are all of the highlights. And, now that I've got in the door of quizzing, I don't think I'll take it quite so seriously in future. But, I think I put in too much work to leave now.
Yes, you can check out, but you can never leave.
Exactly.
Richard, I want to ask you about the final, but we don't want any spoilers, and I'm sure you wouldn't give any spoilers. But after this match, what was the feeling in your squad? Was it okay? We've got a shot, or okay? We think we're really we've really got a good chance now of winning this.
It was rather amusing. We tried to sort of, before each round, even starting at the very beginning of the tournament, our way of coping with it is, we're probably not going to win this match, but we might as well give it a go. And then so we won the first round. I think it was, Warwick always goes out in the second round, so well. It's sort of, trying not to think too much about it and just give it our best shot, really.
It's funny you say that, because they filmed the quarterfinals and then we were waiting to get a text from the producers, the captains, to see what time we'd be, and we knew who the 4 semi-final teams were. And I was texting Dan Lawson once we got our times and thought, right, which unlucky team has drawn Warwick? So it's interesting that Richard said they thought they weren't going to win, because the rest of us were all terrified of you.
Well, you've done something right then down along the line, Richard, to have that kind of impression on the opposition. But maybe playing without fear, maybe that does it. If you go in there and just, the fear of negs is not present, and you just play it as you see it. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I guess especially once the questions. I mean, sort of something came up a little earlier, but when Paxman finishes reading and there's sort of a silence, the actual fear of buzzing in is quite intense under the lights, feeling like, oh God, what if I buzz in and someone else might get it? It can be quite strong. But
especially in that match, I knew the Robozone question. It wouldn't just change the scores because I got the last starter, so I would have got one earlier and not one later. So the scoreline would have been the same, but I just couldn't bring myself to buzz on that question. It was very early on.
I found that in the first round. Again, I'm talking about the first round an awful lot, aren't I? But yeah, it was. There were moments thinking like, oh, I should have buzzed there. And once you get one or two, it sort of breaks the ice a little bit, and you start, your confidence levels increase, and you feel perhaps a little bit less self-conscious about what you're actually doing, and the fact that there's TV cameras pointing at you, and you just try and have fun.
What I felt was odd for me, looking back on it, is that every single match, the majority of my starter questions happen in the second pitch round and onwards. For some reason, I just always managed to warm up sufficiently by the 20-minute mark. I think out of my 7 starters tonight, 4 were in the second pitch round and onwards.
Interesting. Is there a dread when you go into a match thinking, whatever happens, I don't want to come out of it without a starter buzz against my name? Is that because it doesn't matter how much you contribute to the team in bonuses, starters are very, very visible, aren't they?
Yep.
Do you think, okay, well, I want to get a starter under my belt, ideally as early as possible to get that monkey off my back, but does that play on your mind?
I think so, yes. I guess for better and for worse, if you haven't got one, sometimes you find you might go in a bit too early. that happened in our first quarterfinal match. I'd got the one a little after halfway, and I went for another, having mixed up 2 Irish towns and negging quite appallingly. So it can drive you.
You say that about your one neg, whereas I think I have something like 8 to my name. I think I've the most of any player of the season.
Yeah, but then again, you are a more prolific buzzer. So, I think the vast majority, I've had 1 buzz each in second round, quarterfinals, and semi-finals, and 4 in the first round. So, the distribution is rather uneven.
If you style yourself, or even if that's your natural style, to be aggressive on the buzzer, you have to take negs with the territory, don't you? Because that's part of that style of play, that you're going to do it from time to time. And you just weigh up the law of averages, is you're probably going to get more right than you're going to be negging, and the net contribution will be better. Is that your mindset, Michael? Because you were one of the most aggressive players we've seen this season, if not the most at times.
Yeah, I have the most -5s of any player in the tournament. I also have the most starters of any player in the tournament. We also have played more games, so maybe that's part of it. But I think the numbers are significantly more because I just didn't care by the end of it about -5s. I thought I'll look like an idiot either way if I don't buzz or if I buzz in wrong, and I was just there to have fun. I wasn't really thinking about it. Yes, James is quite right. This is James Coe, in one afternoon at a tournament in the end of February, I think got 15 -5s in 3 games.
Yes, he is. But then again, it usually pays off because he's a very strong quizzer, and
Yes.
There's plenty of powers there as well.
And of course, I wonder how different University Challenge would be if you could have powers. Maybe the length of the questions doesn't really allow it, but for those that don't know powers, in Quiz Bowl, which is like the student version of University Challenge, the questions are a little bit longer, but if you buzz in before a certain point, you get additional points. You get 5 additional points, don't you?
Yeah.
I think it's less watchable. Quiz Bowl is really, really fun to play and quite addictive. But it's
addictive.
not the most fun whenever there's a final that we're not in, and I've only been in one final, and we happen to win it somehow. This was the same tournament we were talking about at the end of February. I usually just spend it chatting to friends because it's less fun to watch, and I think if you had longer questions, it wouldn't be as interesting.
And in fact, you probably get the same complaints that people have about Mastermind. Why are the questions on University Challenge so long? Guys, it's been great chatting to you. Thanks for coming on. Richard, thanks for coming on, making your debut on Quizzy Monday. Hopefully we'll have you on again at some point. Michael, we're bound to have you back at some point, maybe as our expert analyst for the UC final or something like that, if you're up for it.
I think I'm happy to be there, but I think it's someone else's moment. I've asked Andrew to come on.
Oh, that would be great.
And I will ask whichever one of Dan or Michael wins next week to come on. But I'm happy to be there. But I think it's going to be their game. Yeah. But I'm happy to come on in the future. Although I was. There was something funny I wanted to bring up earlier, which is I now want to look back at the last one we did where it was me, Bobby, Lyndsay. It was before Tom joined, and you, all people who actually, in retrospect, had gone out in the semi-final, and you were all talking about, I really wish there had been a 3rd and 4th place playoff, and what's it like to go out in the semi-final, and I was just there biting my tongue.
I knew there was a risk of that.
I really wanted there to be a 3rd and 4th place playoff, either Magdalen or Balliol. We never meet them, of course. It would have been really fun to play them.
Yeah, that's a shame. But you can look back with pride on what you and your team have done this series. Richard, you've still got one more step to go before you can put your slippers on and have a look back. But congratulations on making the final. It's a phenomenal achievement. It's been a really great series. I think one of the things we said quite early on when we were looking at episodes was some people were criticizing it for being lower scoring in a lot of the matches. But Michael made a really good point of actually, because a lot of the matches were much more competitive and a lot closer. Yeah. So nobody was really racking up the huge scores. I think that makes it much more entertaining. I'd rather have a match where 5 minutes before the end, you don't know who's going to win. 2 minutes before the end, you probably still don't know who's going to win. As a viewer, it's brilliant. As a player, probably less so. But thanks, guys, for coming on. And we'll hopefully chat to you both again at some point in the future because it's been an absolute delight. Michael, always a delight to be chatting to you. Consider yourself recruited for the long haul on these. But Richard, thanks for coming on. It's been brilliant to have your insights. Brilliant to have both of you from both sides of the coin tonight. So thank you very much, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was tonight's Quizzy Monday. Thanks to everybody who's been watching and posting comments. Been lots of great comments in the chat. Lots of little bits of inside banter as well, which have been very entertaining for people to be posting. Thanks to Richard, Michael, and Lyndsay. It's been great having them on. Congratulations to Richard for making the final, and good luck to Warwick in the final. Thanks to Michael and Lyndsay. They both bowed out in the semi-finals, but they both bowed out with pride and some fantastic quizzing under their belt. We'll be back again on Thursday for Quiz Week, where we'll be reviewing the world of competitive quizzing and what's been going on there. Some exciting stuff like the Lowbrow Mimir final on Sunday and quiz leagues and all that. So look out for that on Thursday, 8 o'clock. We also will be releasing the latest Quiz Academy video. That will definitely happen this week, promise. Look out for our, if this is the answer, what is the question? You've got till tomorrow evening to get your question in. And look out for lunchtime quiz time, tomorrow lunchtime on Twitter. If you want to get in touch with us about anything, if you want to volunteer to get involved in anything, to come on Quizzy Monday or Quiz Week, if you have a particular competition to talk about, email allthingsquiz@gmail.com, and we'd love to hear from you. We will probably be putting Quizzy Monday into a little bit of a hiatus once all the shows are over, but if you have ideas of what we could do to kind of keep the candle burning, then let us know. And likewise, quiz week. A lot of competitions coming towards an end. We may just have a little bit of an off season there as well. But in the meantime, have a great week. Enjoy your quizzing, and hopefully we'll see you. If we don't see you on Thursday for quiz week, hopefully we'll see you next week for Quizzy Monday for the second semi-final of University Challenge and for the final of Only Connect. Good night, everybody.